welcome to episode 4 of Games Every Designer Should Play, a podcast that explores what aspiring and seasoned designers can learn from some of the greatest games of all time. I'm Stuart Lilford, the Big Daddy of game design, and I'm joined by my little sisters.
I wasn't expecting that. I'm Adrian Mills, game designer and raconteur.
And
hi, it's David. Game design lecturer, you've completely thrown me off.
Just thought I'd mix it up a little.
Yeah.
In each episode, we'll be discussing one essential game and what we can learn from it. And at the end of the episode, one of us will reveal to the others the game we must play for the next episode. Will it be beloved by all, or could it be controversial? You'll have to listen all the way right to the end to find out. It's Adrian's turn to choose today, so we'll see what he suggests at the end of the episodes. And Adrian chooses, and Stuart and David obey. See what I'm doing here?
That's
I'm
true.
mixing
I get
it. Anyway, if you can't tell, this episode, the game we'll be discussing is Bioshock. A fair warning, this podcast will likely contain spoilers for the game, and you'll probably get more out of it if you've played. So if you haven't played Bioshock, why not just pause the episode? Just pause it now, go and play it. We'll be talking about it, assuming that you've played it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few notes together on Bioshock. Bioshock is a seminal first-person shooter that redefined storytelling in video games.
Ooh.
Yeah. Released in 2007 by Irrational Games, it takes players deep into the underwater city of Rapture, a crumbling utopia built on the ideals of objectivism and free will. Often considered a spiritual successor to System Shock 2, Bioshock was led by Ken Levine, who blended immersive storytelling with philosophical themes to create a world that reflected the consequences of unchecked ambition and individualism. With its rich narrative, memorable characters, and thought-provoking questions about choice, control, and morality, Bioshock not only delivered a captivating gameplay experience, but also reshaped the gaming landscape. But what can we, as designers, learn from it?
Do you know what's interesting about that write-up just there, what you just said?
Yeah, go on then.
Is that the one thing it don't really mention sort of thing about what it's really good at sort of thing? It's the moment-to-moment gameplay.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I didn't want to... We'll talk about all this.
That's an interesting omission. Oh, it's an amazing world and brilliant narrative and it wraps it all up, but what do you do then?
I think because that's what mattered to me about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I just...
Yeah.
It's
I know,
just a
I'm
little
just
brief
throwing it in there. I
overview.
was throwing it in there.
You know, next time you write the introduction.
The ad read.
Well, you will be actually.
Well,
It's your choice.
I will.
Yeah.
And I kind of would. I think I would like to start with you, Dave. Because
Okay.
We kind of. I played this when it came out.
Yeah.
Adrian, I'm assuming you did.
Mm-hmm.
But David, you hadn't played the original Bioshock.
Yeah.
Before.
So I played Bioshock Infinite, and I'd seen tiny bits of Bioshock, so I knew like one of the main plot twists. But while I was playing back through it, I completely forgot about it. So I still got a bit of that experience. So that's quite good. I mean, what do you want to hear about my first?
Yeah. Before you say you played Infinite, did you play the DLC for Infinite?
I didn't actually.
Okay.
So only the base.
I haven't played the DLC.
Well, because the DLC for Infinite there's one of it
ties it back in.
Yeah,
well, it takes place in Rapture.
Yeah.
I just wondered.
I have it on Steam, but
I've played them both.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go back there. Which version did we all play as well? Did we all do
played
the
remastered,
HD,
yeah.
remastered one? Did you?
Oh, what, of Bioshock?
Yeah.
I think I played the original on Steam.
Yeah, I went with the vanilla original release.
Yeah.
And,
I went with
you
the
can
remastered.
tell when you're playing it. So what was your thoughts then, David?
I mean,
Of it.
a lot of it still holds up. However, there's quite a few bits where it feels like it's a 17-year-old
It is
game.
17-year-old. Yeah.
Like there's just certain stuff like you have like the arrow waypoint guiding system that you always have at the top of the screen,
Yeah.
like directing you.
I think you can turn it off.
Yeah, you can.
but it is on by default.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah. We'll go into that in a second. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I played on keyboard and mouse. I don't know did you guys play on controller or?
Controller originally, I did play keyboard and mouse this time though.
Okay, yeah. So playing with keyboard and mouse was an experience because you have so many different like keybinds and the controls are not what you're used to. So in a shooter, for example, you would expect right click to be aim, right? You have Z to aim with the weapons instead of right click,
which I didn't do once in my playthrough.
I rebound it because that was a little off. And then you have like for all the different sort of magical, well, not magical, plasmid attacks. They're all the different numbers at the top of the keyboard, and like swapping between everything. That definitely took a bit of getting used to at first.
Yeah, I had the same issues. I was like, okay, I've come across a bunch of splicers.
Yeah.
My pistols run out of ammo.
Yeah.
I need to scroll through to my crossbow. I've gone the wrong way. I'm like scrolling through still. Oh, I've gone past it. I'll go back. And like, I mean, I was playing on easy, so it was fine for me. I
was playing on normal.
Number keys for weapon selection. That goes back to like original first-person shooters.
The thing is,
Doom and Half-Life, things like that. Half-Life 2, they all use the number key.
Yeah, typically I don't mind that, but when you have like so many different weapons and then you're being introduced new weapons over time, like it starts to get a little annoying, I guess, or maybe just a bit confusing.
I mean, the controller's much better. Because I think it was built originally for consoles. I think the game it was built for the Xbox 360.
You can kind of tell that, yeah.
And so the controller is quite nice, and that you can just use. I think it's just the right and left bumpers,
right,
to change your plasmid. So swap between two, or you hold them and get a wheel.
Yeah, I think so. I think in PC you can technically hold like shift or something, and it brings up like a full screen with all the weapons and ammo and stuff like that. And that like pauses the game, so that was like a workaround, but I never actually used that too much.
I don't think it pauses the game in. I think it just pops up.
I think it does, like for the keyboard. I
don't think it did. It might have done. I can't remember.
And one thing I found when I was playing through was, it kind of got to the point where there were so many different plasmids and abilities and stuff like that a lot of the time I just defaulted to like just using the guns, and kind of I would try to force myself to use the plasmids to, like, you know, that you have like all the different environmental hazards and stuff that you can like shock or like set on fire and stuff like that. I tried to use those, but the fact that I had to like swap backwards and forwards, like I kind of defaulted to using the guns a lot more.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because like the plasmids are cool, but they're not as effective at dealing with the enemies unless you kind of really engage with them.
Yeah, if
obviously
you're good at
early
chaining,
on, you do the 1-2 punch with the electric shock and then the wrench. That's good early on, but then I don't feel like the game really does more of that kind of thing with other combos. It should have been like, oh, if you use the incinerate along with the crossbow, then this happens, or that kind of thing. It doesn't really build on that, and it does become quite overwhelming.
It does a good job of like having all of those environmental hazards like water and explosive barrels, like they're kind of consistently through the levels, but I don't know. How did you go through in yours?
I think it's different on a controller, and I think the other thing with Bioshock is the thing to mention here is that you can only have one active.
Yeah.
So you can have a gun or a plasmid.
Yeah.
You have to switch between them. You can't fire them both at the same time. I find they switched that in Bioshock 2. Allowing you to use both at the same time, which was one of the better things about Bioshock 2. I found that going back to it now was quite restrictive, and I found that you would just basically just lay into them with machine gun, but also or the shotgun, and so unless I really sort of planned and thought ahead, if I died, right, okay, I need to think about this, and then I would hit them with. I would usually. If there's a Big Daddy around, just use the Big Daddy lure to turn them against, or they're turning them against each other.
The thing is,
some
that
bits you can do, but
I used that the way you can control. You essentially get a Big Daddy to be friendly towards you, but then if you, so I had the thing where if you got hit, you electrocuted the enemies around you. But if the Big Daddy follows you around, if you've got the attract thing on, so, and also the screen shake that you get when the Big Daddy's stomping around is it's bananas.
Yeah.
It's just wobbling, and so I'm trying to walk around the map, and this Big Daddy's following me. I'm clump, and it's just wobbling everywhere, and I'm like, what's going on? And then an enemy's nearby and hits me, but then they get electrocuted, but that then gets the Big Daddy, and then that turns them against me anyway. So I was like, whoa. Bother then?
One of the things I would say about this is, and that ties into the screen shake stuff, is the amount of visual interference
I was
as well.
say,
Bloom, bloom's off the scale of the parts. And the stuff when stuff's going, because it's a 2007 game. This was an early 360 thing. There's loads of games
very
at the time.
common.
They turn up the bloom. We can make things bloom now. So it makes it, but now it's just turn. So when you get hit with a rocket, there's rockets firing off. There's Big Daddy,
especially when the
screen blur and shake and
security bots come out. It's like someone's put Vaseline on the bloody. It's like, what's going on? Why is it so blurry?
It's very hard to read this game now.
Yeah, the visual clutter when you have like a machine gun, and if you aim down the iron sights and you're trying to fire at someone, it's impossible to see them. You're trying to shoot this tiny little head, and there's flash and there's like bloom, and the gun is shaking, and you're like, it's almost incentivizing you not to aim.
Yeah, as a thing, every designer should know. It's like, don't use over bloom. So if your screen is unreadable, unless it's for really, really good effects in kind of weird horror games, but if it's in a first person shooter and you can't read the screen, that's bad design.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had that trend. It's past. Like, we don't do
that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing we can. I mean, it's not typical for us to immediately dunk on the game that we're discussing. But obviously these are the things that stuck with us. Yeah,
I did enjoy it. There were like lots of very memorable like story moments, and the gameplay was enjoyable enough that like you're constantly kind of moving on to the next fight, and like sometimes that did get to me a little bit where you're backtracking and you have to fight enemies when you've already gone through an area. Like, that was a little bit annoying, but it gives you something to do as you're kind of
the endless waves of splicers.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's more splicers. Come on, and you'd hear that.
Jesus loves me. This I know.
Hey, Billy, what you saying now? No, no.
Charlie,
for God's sake. Okay.
Same again.
Yeah.
So, it does betray its roots in that respect, because I mean, this was the same time around sort of Call of Duty Modern Warfare when that came out, and the first few games of that were replete with just first person shooters at the time, just respawning enemies were just there was just a thing.
Like, how can we pad it out a little bit more?
Until you got past the trigger point, and then they all just disappeared.
It's good to see that we've come a long way with that kind of thing. Like Last of Us Part 2, for example, the kind of enemy barks that they shout out. You don't ever feel like you're hearing the same thing, and they even sometimes specifically name other NPCs. Like they're like, oh, Henry, what happened, or whatever, that kind of thing. Which obviously Bioshock doesn't. It does do, but you're hearing the same.
They've all gone Adam mad, haven't they?
Yeah.
In terms of what Bioshock does well, I think probably its world building is its strongest kind of.
I mean, even just from the very beginning sort of thing, I still think the reveal is brilliant.
It's amazing.
The opening section, which you're in the water. That water still looks ace.
Yeah.
So there's still some really good visual elements to this. They've obviously spent a lot of time on that. So you're in the water, you're in the lighthouse. That whole sequence of going down, the lights coming on.
You
get it's really, really good. The sound effects are great, and there's a reason. I mean, I remember back in, obviously, I don't know if you ever play the demo of this before the original game came out?
I don't think so.
Because the demo was the first level up to the bit where you get trapped in the room, and Atlas is going, get out, and they're all piling up.
That bit,
that's where the demo ended. So you can imagine playing that first section. And everybody, that's why everybody was just like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And then the rest of the game never does that again. To any great degree.
It does start strong.
It starts incredibly strongly. And this, as a something to take from it as a designer, hooking someone in. This game is a really, really good example.
One of the points I have is just interest curves, which is a term I've borrowed from Jesse Schell's Art of Game Design book, where he kind of talks about how you want to first of all do something that hooks them in, hooks the player in, which the kind of the big reveal of well, first of all, the plane crash. And
yeah.
then you want things to kind of calm down a bit and allow the players a bit of breathing space.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to kind of gradually escalate, which they do it very well in that opening sequence. So you get to the lighthouse, and then it's the bathysphere, and then you've got the splicer reveal and all this kind of it ramps up the tension again, and then it's things start to calm down again, and it kind of that's present throughout the kind of whole game, where you've got these major plot points or these escalation points, and then you've got a bit of okay, now the player's allowed to kind of explore this room without as many splices around, things calm down, then it gradually ramps up again. So I think this is a good example, particularly the opening sequence.
That initial like establishing shot where you go down like in the bathysphere and you see all the like the water.
Yeah. It comes from a thing and the music wells up.
Yeah.
I gave you rapture.
That kind of immediately gets you hooked.
Yeah. Although I did notice that the projector screen just comes straight out the floor. Just clips straight through the floor.
Really?
Yeah, because I was looking down when it came out, and it just comes straight out the floor. There's no other.
I wonder if they changed that in the remastered, or if that
maybe I didn't bother put an actual roll-out projector screen in there. But yeah, I did notice that, and also like I have played initially the first bits of the remaster, and like they've obviously done like a seaweed pass to add loads of extra kind of plant life, and also starfishes. They've gone starfish mad with that opening sequence compared to the original, and jellyfish as well. They're in there. But
you like always look at a window and you've just got those like weird little like weirdly scaled like
fish,
aquatic life and stuff.
That they have them throughout the environment as well. You'll just come across one like flopping about on the floor.
Yeah.
But it'll just do that forever.
Yeah.
It just flops about on the floor forever.
I mean, you can poke the holes in it. So it's like when you first get the electricity, you go through that door, you shoot it, and that hole you first get the first plasmid, you go through the door, and then the plane thing comes through the thing.
Yes.
And you have to go in, and the water's pouring in.
Yeah.
Just down there.
Yeah.
You can that water's never filling.
Yeah.
No, but
it's a nice effect.
On the plane, the tail of the plane coming through. There's a game design rule that this game does quite well, and it's called the rule of cool. And that is a cool sequence. When you're walking through there, and that even though like physically, if you've got like a physicist or somebody to actually kind of to go through, well, this would happen. First of all, you'd be dead because of the pressure loss of being under, and then
but it's cool. So.
But it's cool. So who cares? It's a video game.
Yeah.
And the game does lots of cool moments. There are lots of good bits in this and some good stuff. But I just think
the Big Daddies are very cool.
Again, I think what this game does is this game introduces stuff well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it introduces the city well. It introduces the splicers really good, because this opening splicer sequence where it kills the guy outside.
Yeah.
It's jumping around. It's slicing at the bathysphere. And that whole sequence, then it introduces the Big Daddies really well, where you see the little sister, and he goes, "That just because you're on the," you see it through the window.
Yeah.
It smashes the guy through the window.
Yeah, that's brilliant. All the enemy, like the bosses, Alexander Cohen and the other guys.
Right. It's just the bits after
the
it.
In-betweens.
It's the after bits.
Yeah.
Where I think it falls down on, it's a 2007 shooter.
Yeah.
And that's where this game falls down. But we'll maybe come to that a bit later. But,
Yeah. So, based on the other thing I wanted to kind of mention about the things that I feel like it is a good, because we're always, obviously we teach students, we're lecturers in game design, we teach our students, and one of the things that we encourage them to do is when they are trying to come up with ideas for their game is to look outside of existing game experiences.
Yeah.
And obviously they've done that with Bioshock. They've looked at art deco for the architecture. There's all the stuff about the philosophy, objective. Basically Ken Levine read Atlas Shrugged, and he wanted that turned into Bioshock. Even that, like just literature, obviously a set time period, the 1950s, even stuff like Greek mythology. There's a lot of that in there with Hephaestus and Apollo and Olympus and Prometheus and all these kind of Greek mythology names working their way in there. So I felt, having it as a very clear example of this game that's taken a lot of influences from all these kind of different aspects, and it's come together in this kind of cohesive whole really well, and it's formed this kind of world in which you explore. I think it's a good example of that.
Yeah. I mean, the Art Deco stuff they have is the backbone of like all the environmental work that they have in there. Like, if you didn't have that, it would feel extremely different, I would imagine. Like, just the stuff that they have with Art Deco, like the sort of contrasting shapes, the like geometric patterns and all of that, and like I think it's supposed to be like kind of replicating, it's like sort of machinery and art sort of thing with like the harsh vertical lines and like all of that kind of stuff. Like, if you didn't have that, it would be different.
I watched an interview with the developers, and apparently kind of early iterations of Rapture was like, it was very kind of like sort of practical. So it was a lot of, well, if you had a city underwater, it would probably be lots of concrete and all this kind of thing. And it was only when they kind of veered away from that they ended up with this and looked towards Art Deco and that as an art movement for the inspiration of the architecture, that it kind of developed into this more the visual style that you can see in there. And I think visually, bloom aside, it's a nice walking around Rapture is still pretty cool. It's still a kind of good to do as a game.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it does. I mean, design level, as in visual design wise, I think it still stands up, and it's still pretty, and that's one of its strong points, because like you said, it's pulling in influences that are not your typical looking at other video games. It's looking outside that, and I think that's a design tenet that should be applauded.
Yes, but the game does do some dumb stuff. I think one of the things for me, and we can talk about what's the like ludo narrative dissonance or whatever, where you are, you know this ludo narrative dissonance.
I probably know what it is, but the term is.
It's like where your character is doing things that are just not. They don't match up with the story really. So like rummaging through bins for protein
alcohol.
bars.
The classic example is Uncharted. Nathan Drake is your lovable, criminal hero, shoots 50, 100 people, and then turns around and goes, that was close. Like, not psychologically scarred at all by murdering hundreds of people.
But the bit in this, it happens quite early on. You get to the first door where you need the plasmid to open it, the electrical plasmid. And you go up the stairs, and there's this vending machine with this like needle, the plasmid that you can inject, and like no one tells you. Atlas doesn't come on the comms and say, "Would you kindly inject yourself with this plasmid, please?" You just do it. You walk up to it, interact with the vending machine, and the next thing you know, in first person, you're just jamming this thing straight into your arm. And I don't know about you, David and Adrian, but if I was on a plane crash and went into a lighthouse that then took me into an underwater city, and then came across just a random glowing needle,
that's the first
thing I would do is jam it straight into my arm without anybody telling me to.
I think though, and I think the inference once you finish the story, when you get the twist, is that it's actually built into you to do that.
Yeah.
Because of the character.
Like that's a cop out.
I don't know. I think the things that you do in the game, a lot of it is that. I mean, there's the would you kindly stuff. You go do this, go and do that. But there's some of the things you do. I think it's it's a. You're probably right. But but it is a case of the fact of you are from Rapture, and this is also explained a bit more in some of the DLC for Bioshock Infinite.
Okay.
So when they loop back,
Yeah.
Because you meet Atlas and all that lot.
We need to forget about that for now, though. Like with the Portal episode we did, we can't think about Portal 2.
But in regards to this, it does you are from there.
It would make sense.
Well, my point is, they could have just had a throwaway line. Would you kindly, take a look at the planet? It was just something, or something explaining to you that, you have to inject this. Cause...
I wonder if I wonder if from a writer's point of view, I bet they did, but I reckon that would have been too obvious.
Yeah. Maybe.
Right, yeah, okay.
Because saying, would you kindly inject yourself in the arm?
Maybe not that, but it's just something, because it just felt like you were exploring this city, and then all of a sudden you find this vending machine, and without any prompting, it's literally
it's because you're already supposed to know about them. You already understand what they are.
The artistic license,
genetically built.
Yeah, but the player doesn't know.
But that's part of the twist. And the understanding when you look back on those things and you go, oh, actually, this person was from there.
Yeah.
He knows that. So I understand at the time you're like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But then half the time when I'm playing it, I'd be like, Atlas, you can just get lost. No, I'm not going after this. I just want to get out of it.
I don't care about your family. I
think if they'd have put the would you kindly in there, I think that would have given it away.
Yeah.
Because the way they do use the would you kindly thing, even knowing it, obviously I've known, when I first played it, I had no idea what it was. It came like, oh, wow, that's a great twist, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so, but even going back on it now, and even if you're aware of it, it's used quite judiciously and quite
fairly subtle,
sparingly. Yeah.
And it's also just feels like part of Atlas's diction, his lexicon, his way of speaking.
Yeah.
He's Irish, isn't he? Especially Irish. And so I think that was quite a clever, language choice, accent choice.
Yeah.
So because it feels disarming. So I think that the reason they didn't put it there, and I wouldn't be surprised if during development they had it and they went, it's too obvious.
Yeah. I mean, even if it wasn't that necessarily, but just something there.
I mean, I rewatched the opening scene with the plane, and you have the.
Sorry, just hang on a minute.
Sorry,
I just want because
go on then.
No, something there. But what do you think that they could have said that would make you jab that thing in your arm?
How about some sort of how when you get plasmids, it shows you those kind of fake instructional 1950s video,
but it still involves jabbing the thing in your arm.
Something just explaining that by doing this you'll gain these powers, because they kind of say there's posters for plasmids and stuff that explain what they do, so you kind of get that, but just the jamming it in your arm bit.
But that's what I'm saying. Would a poster and a video that ends with, and you can have this by ramming this massive needle in your arm, would that do it for you? Would it do it? Would you do it still?
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Yes, I would. That's all I would need. Just a little video, just a little animatic that just said.
Well, the animatic says it's great. I must do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a struggle there to make it believable as to why anybody would ever, because it's not a small needle.
No.
It's not like it's not like your COVID vaccine or something.
It goes through your arm 3 times.
Yeah,
through.
It's coming out of the side.
He's going to have a right bruise on his arm, that guy, isn't he? The player character. Other dumb stuff on my list.
You were talking.
You were.
I was only going to say the opening scene with the plane, they pull out the little card and right at the top it says, "Would you kindly?" So
yes,
you could argue that because he didn't pull it all the way out, there could have been a list of instructions or something.
Okay. Would you kindly
do this, do that, do that?
Be in a plane crash and then
kill this guy.
Inject yourself with the plasmid.
I mean, the bigger thing,
argue that.
The bigger plot problem.
Go on.
If you want the bigger plot problem, bigger than all that, is all of this is based on the belief that he's gonna survive the plane crash.
But then they talk about putting him on a submarine later on. They put him on a submarine. How do they? There are gaps here.
But the plane crash is so if we get him on the plane and we'd have the card and then because he causes the plane crash.
Yeah.
And then it's and then we get him down in. It's but he's in a plane crash. He'll be all right.
Yeah, but I thought even the plane crash was because they supplant memories into him, don't they? And they talk about putting him on a sub later on in the story. And I was like,
get him out.
Do they just put him in the water after having implanted all these fake memories?
Just destroy a plane. Because the plane was there, wasn't it?
They had a plane fuselage.
Is he not on a plane at the start? Is he just in a fake plane?
Yeah, but you see flashes of all these fake memories. So what's real and what isn't? Yeah, I think there is an argument there to say, but they've ordered a plane off Amazon. It's been delivered. They've smashed it up a bit.
Hopefully they got it today on the Prime.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Ryan's definitely got Amazon Prime, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
It's been delivered.
That's why Atlas is annoyed with him, sort of thing, because he's taking him off the family plan.
Would you kindly let me watch Mr. Robot?
Downgrading the service and removing your access to it. I only had 2 episodes left.
Back to Netflix.
What were we talking about before that?
Yeah, I've gone on a tangent. Anyway, some other dumb stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I really did not anticipate this becoming a massive dunk fest on Bioshock. But
okay.
So you have Eve hypers and you have health kits.
Right.
Yeah.
The Eve hypers, if you use all your Eve on your plasmids, it will automatically use the next one available to replenish it. With your health, you have to press F or whatever it is to do it. Yeah, you have to do it manually. Why? If you've got health kits, just do it all. Why is it not the same as? Because I played on easy. I died once, and it was because I assumed that my health kit would just.
I completely agree with that. What's the more important to you as a player, death or being able to shoot your plasmid? If you're gonna,
I would rather it be the other way around.
Exactly. If you're gonna have me that I have to manually do one, then put it Eve. Make your health. If you're gonna, oh damn, I'm.
Yeah.
Or
I'll switch to using weapons for a bit until I feel, rather than, but that's just one thing I was like, this is inexcusable.
But also as well, this is part of that 2007 design. We hadn't switched to the recharging health of Modern Warfare's the same year. And Call of Duty Call of Duty 2, I think, was doing it. And the Call of Duty games were doing it before this. I'm not sure if Call of Duty 2 had health packs and 3 health packs. I'm pretty sure.
Unless it's just like you leave it for a bit and you heal
I don't
slightly.
think it did. I think they had health packs, but 4 was I think the first one.
Right.
I think that did the recharging health. So it'd go red and you'd go
and
then come back.
Which is stupid.
I would argue,
that is stupid. I would argue that having these health packs is more realistic.
Yes.
Than
realistic is always
better. I feel better. That gunshot wound doesn't seem to bother me anymore.
Well, the best way was always in the Getaway. With the Getaway where he had his magic healing suit. If you ever played the Getaway, drive around. It's a bit of a tangent. You drive around London and you go into fights, a bit like Grand Theft Auto sort of thing, but it's more linear. You get into fights and he had his suit on because you're a gangster, but you're in a full suit. So the whole game you're in this suit. So when you get shot, the suit would get more bloody, which would be your health, and you'd get more thingy down. If you ran off around a corner, he would stand. It was so boring. It's such a stupid mechanic. He would lean against the wall, just breathing heavily while the blood drained out the suit. So essentially, to get your health back, you just had to run away from the fight. The AI was rubbish, so they wouldn't follow you. You just go around a corner and stand against the wall, watching your guy going. Well, the blood just disappeared, and then when it all disappeared, he'd be like, "Hey!" and run back in. So it completely stopped the flow. But I think around this period of time, these are one of the sort of evolutions of gaming in this kind of, Halo 2 had recharging. It had your stamina, it had your shield, but your health, they got away with health packs in Halo 2. That was 2004.
I think that was the only time I died in the game as well. It was the same thing.
Yeah, because I forgot to press F or whatever.
I died quite a few times. I was playing on normal, but yeah.
I had one moment where, what was it? I think it was during the Cohen bit. Wait, is it Cohen? What's his name?
Yeah, Sander
Cohen,
the
artist.
Yeah. Like, it was one room that had like a padlock on it. I opened it up and I went into this tiny little room. I was like, there's not much in here. And I got jump scared very heavily as a Big Daddy charged in from behind me, like just loud footsteps and the sort of whale call. And I was trapped in this tiny little room, swearing loudly and like just trying to get out. And then I managed to get out and I was fighting it, and his health was like a slither away, and then he hit me because I'd forgot to heal because I was so like engrossed in it.
So if we're talking about death and we agree that that's a stupid thing, Can we then move on to the Vita-Chambers?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think the Vita-Chambers are a solution to a problem that should never have been.
Go on then.
All right.
Because I don't like the Vita-Chambers. You can turn them off. I know you can turn them off, but then if you turn them off, it makes the game really unbalanced.
Yeah.
Because the game's balance is all off.
Right.
In the way that your capabilities are nowhere near a match for what you're up against in many ways, especially early on where you don't have a lot of weapons, power and health and power ups and stuff like that. First fight with the Big Daddy, I went in the Vita-Chamber like every 2 seconds because he goes, okay, I'm back in the Vita-Chamber. And whittle it down a little bit, some health, back in the Vita-Chamber. And I think it's badly designed. Does
it retain? Does he still?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
so it's pointless.
Yeah.
It's basically just right now. Go back over there, come back in, and start shooting again. We'll kill you again. Back over there, and it's just like, I understand. So you're not resetting. You're just coming back.
Yeah.
It's a punishment.
It's a punishment, but it also makes no logical sense.
How do you revive in the Vita
where have I
chamber?
gone?
Yeah.
Where's my
What's more? I mean,
body
I
from
can
before?
I can understand jabbing the thing in because it comes from there. The Vita-Chambers make no sense.
The only logical way would be if you've somehow been cloned, like as you die, but then there's no body or anything left behind.
I don't understand the Vita-Chambers. I don't. I've never understood them. I was like,
it's like your genes they've got it in some sort of data bank. And then when you die, it kind of creates a clone of your body so that you can then walk out.
That's why there's so many splicers.
But then, maybe. But then if that's the case, why didn't they just clone you?
Just have loads of you.
Actually, when you kill very important figures in the game, they don't just come back to life, do they?
There's no. It's really, and that's what I mean. As a design decision, it's like, these fights are too hard. Well, we'll just respawn you. We can't just respawn you. So they go to all this length to make this believable city underwater with all these problems and all this stuff and all this philosophy and all this great narrative. And then it's like, well, what happens when you die? Well, you'll die a lot because it's quite hard, this game. Well, we just put you back in that chamber. Why does that happen? Shush.
How does it work exactly?
Yeah. It just works, right? It's like Star Trek, transporters. It's just ridiculous, and I think it's a solution to the fact that they just couldn't figure out a way to balance the game properly. Like we'll come back to other first-person shooters at the time, like Halo. Halo had your recharging health, a recharging shield, and your health, so you could always back off and get your shield back up.
Yeah.
But if you died, you spawned back at the checkpoint, which made sense. You were at the checkpoint. This is not checkpointed. It's just the game continues, but you just transport through a chamber.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
I kind of played it without, because you have the system of you can save your spot and you get auto saves and stuff like that. And I just played it you
have to save spam. You have to
save. So I basically, if I died, I was like, I'm just gonna reload. Because
and try again,
it feels almost like not humiliating, but like embarrassing when you die and you get respawned in this chamber and then you got to run back to the.
Well, they might not make logical narrative sense, but in gameplay wise, it's just a punishment for the player for they weren't able to overcome this enemy. Here's a minor annoyance. You've got to backtrack to the bit where you were at. Or go somewhere else.
But I think in the context of this game, that's what it sticks out like a sore thumb because of the and I know obviously a city under the sea with Big Daddies wandering around, and slugs and slugs and stuff like that. The realms of believability push, but there's always the thing about in games, if they can sell you a concept and sell you this entire world, then they take such great effort to sort of tell you it, and you believe it. You go, okay, I believe that there is a city underneath. It works. I can't buy the Vita-Chambers. I never have done.
The other thing I can't buy is that so you're able to carry a grenade launcher, flamethrower, shotgun, machine gun, all this stuff, which is not my issue. It's a first-person shooter. It's quite normal for you to be able to carry multiple weapons.
Yeah.
Well,
But you can only hold $500 in your wallet. Why on earth can you? I can carry all this stuff, but my wallet only holds $500 max.
Or 9 Eve thing is a 9 health pack.
Yeah. Again, that is like, because if you had unlimited of that, it would be.
You still have to remember to press X. You'd still die.
I've got an Eve pocket which only fits 9 Eves and a health pack pocket. But the wallet thing.
But I'm suffering severe lumbago from all these weapons on my back.
Oh, the crossbow. Yeah.
Well, and even then, going back. Like 2007, Halo was 6 years old by this point with the 2-weapon limit.
Yeah.
And Halo 2 was 2004. Modern Warfare, and I think the Call of Duty games had switched to a 2-weapon. It was, it's a real. I think the last big game that really did that kind of thing was Half-Life 2, 2004.
Yeah.
So games had started to shift towards it. So this is, I think it's because it's a System Shock. It's an old school. Doom System Shock, old Half-Life. It's in that mold, rather than the more modern. So that's what I mean with this game. It's it's 1 foot looking forward.
Yeah.
In terms of its presentation and story and narrative and delivery and all that, and 1 foot really looking back at the old school.
Yeah. And that
first-person shooters.
That like having kind of too many weapons kind of ties into what you were saying earlier when you were trying to, even just playing the game, trying to pick the right weapon or the right plasmid. And the other thing as well is there's a couple of sections in the game where you lose your plasmids or whatever. It kept rearranging the order of my plasmids. I was like, I've just got used to my telekinesis one being the second slot, and now it's at the end. What? Why has that happened?
I couldn't figure out how to rearrange it. I could have just looked it up, but I just kind of gave up on it at that point.
And also as well, you have to go to a machine to rearrange your thingy your plasmids.
With an awful UI.
It's dreadful. It's so hard to read. I was like, what am I doing here? Hey, what? But I think that comes to another point that, it does sound like we're just dunking on this game.
It does sound. I didn't anticipate. Honestly, I thought
it is what it is, because I think Bioshock. There are things to like about it, but I think there are issues, and I think when you design a game, it's also worth looking at some of these sacred cows to go, hang on, what's it getting wrong? And one of the things I think this game gets wrong is none of its systems feel balanced. None of them. There's too many. There's too much on too much. There's too many machines to go through on the walls. There's too many things. There's too many plasmids. There's too many upgrades. There's too many sub-upgrades. There's too many sort of health upgrades or power upgrades, or all those kind of things. You've got crafting.
You've got hacking as well.
You've got hacking as well. Oh, by the way, can you just take some photographs of some splices as well, please?
That's what I'd forgotten about that.
There's photographs. There's multiple. There's different ammunition for each weapon.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then when you accidentally swap between the different ammos, and then you're like,
you've run out of ammo.
I didn't mean to use that.
Automatically swap to the one that I've got then. Why are you telling me to do it? You just do it.
And then you got to reload the whole gun again.
Yeah. Oh, so you tried to reload 2 explosive ammo. You ain't got any of that.
Well, I meant to reload to the armor piercing one. God damn it.
I just can't remember whether it was up, down, left, or right. I can't remember these things. There's too much going on. The screen's a mess. I can't understand what's going on. There's shaking all over. There's someone singing in the background. Jesus loves me. I have no idea what's happening.
But I still enjoyed it.
But yeah, I was quite taken aback when I came to play it again. The volume of systems that it builds and builds and builds. And I also think as well that it's still adding stuff towards the end. It's like you're still getting, what is this now?
A rubber hose? Why do I need this?
Why am I collecting these things? And there's also,
it was interesting for me as well, because we've been planning this episode for a little bit, because I needed to play through Bioshock again. Stuart needed to play through it again.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a hiatus from the game, so I played like maybe 4 or 5 hours into it, and then I didn't play for like a month or 2, and I went back into it. I was like, oh god,
because
when you're playing through it normally, it introduced stuff pretty well, like it staggers it kind of well, and you get used to the controls and everything. But going back into it after 2 months, I was like, oh god, what are the controls like? Where am I going? What am I doing? And like, you have to get used to all the systems again. And it feels like a game that's best played like with shortish breaks between
Yeah, it's just power through it. It's not that long. I mean, I did it in about 9 hours, I think.
Yeah, I think I was probably similar.
It.
I tried to explore as
it's
much.
It's shorter than I thought, I seem to remember, because I said to you, think, oh, this is quite big, and then suddenly I'd finished it.
Yeah, I remember when I played it originally, feeling like it was dragging towards the end. Yeah. But I didn't. Maybe because I was playing on easy this time.
Probably. Yeah, actually,
I was just pointing and clicking the enemies. Honestly, it was no skill.
This is something that you two might not have done going back through, but the audio tapes. Did you? Okay, you.
Yeah, I listened to it when
I didn't like the audio tapes.
What?
See, I think that's one of this game's strengths.
Yeah.
So my like issue with them is I enjoy the audio tapes by themselves. Like, I like the fact that it's giving you this like backstory, and like it kind of ties in with the stuff's going on in the environment. No, that's fine as well.
Okay, right.
Like, the recording's fine as well. My issue is I'm playing through the game, and then I've got one guy speaking to me through the radio, and then there's also a recording, and there's a splicer. So I'm trying to listen to the recording, and I'm walking through the environment, and then someone starts talking to me on the radio. So I'm trying to listen to both, and there's like subtitles for both, and I'm like, it makes me stop, listen to the recording, and then go on to the next stage, and like that kind of took me out of it a little bit.
I mean, but if you've decided to play the recording and then you go to it, he's talking to you, that's your fault. Just stop the recording, don't listen to it later.
I know, but I don't like the fact that you have to, like, you know.
Yeah, I get it. The game is sensory overload incarnate.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's like the recordings by themselves, they're good. It's just the way it takes you out for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can, because I'm playing through Control at the moment, and Control has audio logs and stuff that you can find, but they're location based. So you start listening to something, and I walk off, and then it just stops.
Yeah.
So I have to stay there to listen to the whole thing. Oh, this is now boring.
Yeah. I would prefer that, the Bioshock method of it's just there, you're listening to it.
Yeah, I mean, but you can stop them and then just go into your menus and just listen to them.
Yeah, I didn't like that menu as well, but yeah.
Don't forget as well, I mean, the audio logs do ask you to auto play them when you find them. So it just says hold on Control, hold the back button to auto play it. So just don't do that.
Yeah, I know. Have you been through like the recording?
Yeah, because I went back to listen to some.
Yeah, because they say codes for certain doors that you have to open, and some of them you have to go back through.
I confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, the UI is bad.
It's
bad all through. Yeah, the map, because I found the maps hard to read as well, with the bits grayed out and the levels, and it's not really clear.
Yeah, and you've got to press a bit to zoom out instead of just having it be on one of the a button that zooms in and out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just because I'm impatient, but like, I don't know, if it was text, like if everything was laid out and it was like there was an audio transcript, then I can just read through it at my own pace and I'm done with it, and I can also listen to the audio, let's say, and then that I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing. Like,
I think it's a mid 2000s thing, because this was the same in games like Doom 3 that did it as well, but that had videos as well.
Yeah,
you had to go watch videos in that. So it had even more of them.
Yeah,
I think it's just the time period when this game is.
But I do feel like the audio logs are a strength, because they add to that building, to that narrative, alongside just like everything, all the posters, all the when you go through that initial train, not train station, bathysphere station, and like placards.
You've got the adverts
on the floor and everything.
Plasmids.
Yeah, all that world building stuff.
And it, like when they're advertising the plasmids, and it feels like they're actually advertising a product in their world that people are going to buy, and like all that kind of stuff.
It's the reason why Bioshock 2 is better, because Bioshock 2 gets the gameplay part right, as well as all that other stuff around it, the world, the building, the everything, all that, all the stuff we like.
Yeah.
But it also has a good core, because you're a big daddy. You can use the drill and guns and plasmids all at the same time. You have these little trap sections where you're thinking, because that bit towards the end where you've got where you are the big daddy, you've got to protect the little sister walking through. In Bioshock, I feel that's awkward and not very well done. But in Bioshock 2, they kind of perfect that with like little trap rooms where you're doing it, and the rooms are better designed.
Okay.
So
I restarted on that multiple times when you're like going through and trying to protect them.
It's weird because it's weird that you didn't use the Vita-Chambers much, but you obviously did die quite a lot. if you were restarting.
You were auto-saving.
I didn't die often. It was the bit where you're taking the little sisters and like protecting them. That's where I didn't die. They died a lot.
Right. Yeah.
And then it was like I felt bad, so I was like yeah, I could just keep going through with this new one that's come out, but like it was frustrating because it's like I was walking and then suddenly like this wall opened and they get shot by a turret, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll go back and try and help them survive, but that was the main bit.
The
where
little
it was
sisters
restarting.
died. Is this only in the remaster?
No, I was playing the original.
No.
When you do the escort missions, if they die,
there's only one though, isn't there?
No, you just get a fresh one.
Yeah, another one just pops out.
No, there's what? Oh, right, okay. So only in the escort mission.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, I obviously I was playing on easy, so it was.
I
did it in one go.
Another sort of thing. If the little sister can get killed, so then you have to go bang on the thing again. Ooh,
yeah.
And
another one, fresh one.
Yeah, fresh one.
Yeah.
And then they'll go to that corpse that hasn't been drained properly, and you have to do it all again.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not having that, so I just restarted instead.
Okay.
Made sure everything was reloaded. And
which again is the Vita-Chamber problem.
Yeah.
It robs it of any consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just doing a task until the thing has lived long enough to drain the bloody atom, and you're like, okay, now I can move on again.
Okay, let's move on from the Vita.
We've heard a bit about the Vita-Chambers.
It's a repetitive nature.
We've heard my bit about sticking the needle in your arm. But let's talk of something we'll all undoubtedly.
Okay, I already know.
Love this.
Okay, never mind.
We'll all agree this is great. The hacking minigame.
Well, I've heard tell about that. This Bioshock has been described to me as a great hacking game with not too good a first-person shooter wrapped around.
I actually quite enjoyed the hacking minigame, and I remember playing it first time through, and I would spend the time hacking turrets and hacking vending machines and stuff because I actually quite liked playing. What's the name of the game that it's based on?
The original game, Pipe Mania.
Pipe Mania. Yeah. I enjoyed Pipe Mania.
Came out about 1990. Yeah, Pipe Mania is great.
Yeah, and in Bioshock it's great as well. Yeah. But later on, when the last couple of levels, when you're trying hacking and
it's moving faster, you can move your finger.
Yeah, it's moving, and you have to reveal all the tiles, and and it's got those ones that block it, and then you realise, oh, I can't actually go this way.
Yeah.
I haven't got the one. I need one of these curved ones in this direction because you can't rotate them either, can you?
Yeah, because there's a few times where the puzzle was impossible for me, where it was literally blocked off completely to the point where you couldn't solve it.
And then when you get it wrong, you lose some health, and then the security droids I think come out, don't they? And everything goes to blue.
God, the security drones.
Everything goes to blue. And you're trying to hack one.
Those were the most stressful part of the game for me, the security bots, because it's like you kill one and the one
they whistle at you,
and there's like. Yeah. And when they fire at you, you've got the issue of the bloom again. So it's like.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing but yes, the actual when it works, that bit's great.
Yeah.
The thingy. Can we talk about the ending?
That's what I thought you were going to say when you said, right, there's something we can all agree on. I thought you were going to say the last boss.
No. Okay, we'll do the last boss. But I was going to talk about the ending, the ending. The ending.
The actual
the resolution to the narrative.
Yeah, what we haven't actually talked about is, did we harvest or?
Well, we'll talk about. Well, let's just talk about. What's the end boss's name? Atlas.
Fontaine.
Is it Fontaine?
But
yeah.
Frank Fontaine.
I can't remember. Yeah, Frank Fontaine. So when he just becomes like a giant wrestler.
Yeah.
So you walk into this big chamber and there's just this Hulk.
Yeah.
Attached to like a surgery sort of table thing.
Yeah, Ben Grimm.
The Thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's clobbering time.
Quite literally.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, so he's going to charge at me. I'm going to attack him. Oh, okay. So he's charging at me again. All right. Charge. Okay. So, all right. That's the first wave. I've beaten him. Now there's more enemies.
Yeah.
And you're like, at this point, you've probably run out of ammo, so you got to reload stuff, and you're just kind of running around in a circle. And I don't know about you, but I stayed in front of like the area that he pops down from, because there was no reason to.
I just had rockets.
Yeah.
Grenade launcher.
Yeah.
And
just fired all the most powerful stuff at them.
Yeah.
And then
it's really bog standard basic, worst kind of Ven boss.
Yeah.
for the type of game it is, for the kind of allusions to sort of cerebral like cleverness and narrative, all these
we're
sort
so
of
clever and intelligent,
and like intelligent design and philosophy and Atlas Shrugged and all that kind of all those kind of things, and then at the end it just ends up with it ends up with Ben Grimm.
Just punch things.
Yeah. I'll kill you. Okay.
And there's what three phases that are all the same.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was kind of like they took the Big Daddy and just put all the extra plasmids and stuff on top of it.
I'd say Big Daddy's fighting the Big Daddy's more enjoyable.
Yeah, it was definitely. But they just decided like we're gonna stick all these other things on top of it as well, and then it just kind of.
And also, I think if you do die to him, because I did die once,
right?
Because I think I got caught by something, got stuck on scenery, I think.
Yeah.
You don't Vita-Chamber.
You don't.
So the one time.
Wow, what happened there?
You just
restart.
You just go to your last point, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
Or you just restart the fight, but it's not continued. You have to do it from the beginning.
Oh yeah, because they didn't want. Because it's the end boss fight, they don't want to make things.
So again, come back to what sense does all this make?
Look, we've already covered Vita-Chambers, Adrian. Stop trying to talk about Vita-Chambers.
It got to the point where like you have so many different like plasmids and weapons and stuff like that like they almost couldn't use those in the fight because there's so many different options that like if you were to try and do something specific with those, like you would have to have it attached or
which
whatever.
Which is what I'm saying about so many systems.
Yeah.
It all comes down to not a lot.
So it's like we can't really do anything cool and clever like that, so we're just going to have to give you a big spongy enemy that you have to dodge and shoot.
For me, boss fights in video games are at their best when they take something you've been doing and subvert them, or they do something different with them. I think Metal Gear Solid does a really good job of this with a lot of their boss fights. So, for example, I don't know, Cyborg Ninja, you can't use your normal weapons. Like they're pretty good throughout the series at having boss fights where something's taken away from you or that you have to do something in a different way. And another example is in Batman Arkham City when you fight Mr. Freeze. You use obviously the environment to disrupt him so you can go and fight him. But as soon as you've done that, he then makes changes to the environment to prevent you from doing that same thing again. And that's something that you've not seen in the game up until that point.
So you have to learn from the encounter.
So what should have happened at this point is something where you're using the tools that you've got but in a different way, or it's been just something to switch it up and subvert it. I don't know, maybe you kill him by taking photographs of him. That's the only way you can do it.
I hate that damn camera. I like the mechanic of like if you do this thing you get improved like upgrades and whatever, but like the fact that you have to get out of this camera mid-fight, like
again,
how does this even
narrative dissonance? Like, it's just if you're watching that as like in like third person perspective, a guy being attacked by splicers and suddenly he's like say cheese with his camera. But I remember actually quite enjoying the research thing and trying to get these photographs and enjoying the challenge of it, and also reaping the rewards.
I did at the beginning, but then towards the end when you're getting less and less points and it's like you have to go out of your way to do it almost.
It's weird how video gamey this is in certain ways.
And
that's what I think stands out so much. Is like they do so much but then in the video gamey parts really just sort of stick out like sore thumbs. They
want it to be an immersive
sim.
And watching an interview with Ken Levine, he was like, I want to be able to walk up to something and interact with it. So, if you can't do that in a video game, like why can't I do that? You should be able to do everything, and that's why you can walk up to taps in Bioshock and turn them all on.
Flush the toilet.
And you can walk up to you can flush the toilet, and you can walk up to phone boxes and press it. And that's why you can do all these that have zero impact on anything. They're useless.
Or you can eat a banana out
you can play on the casino machine.
You can get
an achievement for that.
You can get money back.
I sat there for 20 minutes.
Oh, you didn't.
I did.
David.
One of my friends was like, oh, there's this an achievement where if you get the jackpot, then you get like 500 gold or whatever, so your max, or was it 250? I don't know. You get a load of gold from it, and I was like,
You can only carry 500.
Yeah.
It'll only take me like 5 minutes, and I was sat there for way too long. Yeah.
It's just for that. Did it feel good getting
No.
that achievement? No.
It didn't. Well, I mean, it felt like good for a second. I was like, why did I do that?
To bring it back to something that I think Bioshock does do well, again, a good thing, a positive thing about Bioshock, level design, specifically theming the levels around, because each environment does feel different. So you've got kind of in the initial kind of bathysphere station, you've got the one that's like the gardens or the park area. You've got the Hephaestus one, which is kind of gets used as like volcanic. It's on the volcano bit.
Yeah.
There's the fishery. There's that bit. And obviously Fort Frolic.
Fort Frolic was probably my favourite part.
Sander Cohen.
Yeah.
That's the sort of cinema one, isn't it?
It's like a casino shopping mall. Theatre.
The theatre one.
Yeah. That was probably my favourite. Like,
I think it's
usually that is the one.
Yeah.
Say it's a standout level.
I mean, you kind of just get free reign when you're going through it a little bit. It's like you kind of get shown this is what you're going to do. So you go into that like theatre or whatever. Cohen or whoever it is explodes. You take a picture of them, go back, put it on the thing, and then it's like, all right, that's what you're going to do for the next 3 people, and then you just kind of explore and enjoy the environment, I guess.
Yeah, and I think just having that, there's like shops that you don't have to go in, but you can you can go in and explore them, and that's where you get hints about your backstory with the, I think it's the strip club. You go in and there's like the ghost of I guess it's your mother.
That's actually the ghosts. What the hell?
That disorientated me a lot.
I'm sure they explain it somewhere, but I can't remember.
I mean, isn't it him like getting or like experiencing past memories or whatever?
I don't think so, because isn't he technically only 2 years old? I'm sure one of the audio logs talks about his rapid aging, and like by the time he was 1 year old, he was the size of a 19-year-old man.
Yeah,
something like that. Did you miss that one?
No, I remember that. Yeah, I mean, maybe just advanced, cognitive,
or the I don't know, the plasmids make it like, I don't know, the plasmids remember.
Well, you see him quite early on though. The first one's in the toilet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like, have you seen Frozen 2? Have you seen Frozen 2?
I haven't actually. No.
Water has memory, and so
if
you can get out of water the things from it's got memories, and basically it's got ghosts in it. Like,
could you imagine the memories like a community pool house?
Oh God. That'd be hell.
No,
it's terrible.
But maybe it's something to do with that. Not water necessarily, but your plasmids have memory or whatever. So
I don't know. I think they
carrying the memory of your genes.
They wanted ghosts in it as well. Because they wanted it to be a bit spooky.
There were some spooky bits in it actually, like a few nice environments where it's all really dark and you're like, there's no enemies, and there's this one room where you've got like a load of mannequins.
Yeah.
And when you're not looking at the mannequins, they're replaced with these like.
That's a nick from Condemned.
Plastered, yeah.
Condemned did the mannequin thing way better.
Yeah. But still, and there was like one where they'd sat in the corner of a room. Yeah. I think I got a little clip of that where I got jump scared.
Yeah, there was a couple of and there's a couple of moments when I'm like, oh, there's another corpse, I'll go and loot it, and it starts getting up, and I'm like, it's moving. And, there is stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those kind of cool moments. The plaster cast things. You only get those though if you find the weapon upgrade.
The weapon upgrade, yeah.
Which I found on my original playthrough, but I completely missed it this time around, and so I was like, where's the bit with the plaster, like the plaster cast enemies that was like they're silent as well, come after you, and I just completely missed it this time around. But that is a cool. I do remember it. It left an impact on me because I remember it.
But yes, we talked about the ending, the binary ending.
Okay.
Did you kill a sister? Yes, then you're going to hell. You've caused the entire world to burn. Or did you save them all? Then you're an angel. It's like, okay.
So there's only two options for the endings then. Okay.
And the two options are based on whether you save or kill the little sisters.
Yeah.
Or harvest or save them.
Yeah.
So I think if you harvest one, you're done for.
Yeah. And then you have
one. You can save all the rest.
Yeah, you have this slight incentive of like if you harvest them, you get more Adam.
But then you don't because they leave it for you at the Gatherer's Garden anyway.
Yeah.
So again,
so it just delays
and you've no idea those endings are coming sort of thing, but that ending's stupid.
Wait, which?
Did you harvest this time around, or did you harvest? Or
No, I saved them as per normal. I've watched both endings. I've done both endings in time sort of thing. I have gone through it and killed every
my original
killed every single little sister I found. Yeah,
I did that first playthrough way back when, 17 years ago. Kill them all. I wanted all the sea slugs out of them so I could get more Adam.
I didn't even get to see the sea slugs, actually.
If you harvest one, you basically rip the sea slug out of it, and then...
I think there is... You don't really see much, though, do you? It kind of
No, you don't see
much. But there is a good payoff to that when you get to where all the little sisters are.
Yeah.
And I think if you've been saving them, they're all, oh, look, it's this guy. And I think if you're nasty, if you've been harvesting them, then they all run away and they're scared of you, aren't they? I think because
maybe
I'm pretty sure
sounds like something it would do.
I'm sure I remember them being like afeared of you where if you have done that. And that was a previous game. I put too much time to play through it, but this time I was saving them all, and that's quite a nice touch. Again, little moments like that is where this game sort of my actions had consequence, and that bit there where they're either scared of you or not, and that's the other thing is. For me, works way better than that stupid ending.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I think if you demonstrate to the player their impact on the game's world,
has consequences.
Yeah, the things that they do have consequences. Like, there's loads of examples of that kind of thing. The one that I've got is like this point and click adventure game where you can choose to kind of do graffiti on places, and if you do that, then later on, like a police officer will be looking for somebody who's been like doing the graffiti, that kind of thing. So like if you don't it makes you feel like your actions matter.
Yes,
that kind of thing.
Silent Hill Shattered Memories is also another really good example of that. With all the stuff you do with the psychiatrist and the answers you give actually change the characters and the way that they look and the physical models. Like I think if you talk about, there's something about how you're a male character and something about how what do you think of women? If you say something really horrible, then I think the waitress is really busty and thingy. If they're not, and then there's you ask you to colour in this house, and then you find that house later and it's the colour you've.
Nice.
Really, there's loads of things in Silent Hill Shattered Memories, but it's Sam Barlow, isn't it, who did her story.
Well, and I think that doing it that way, showing your impact on the world, I think like you say, is a better way of doing it than just here's a FMV at the end that.
Which you were like, and he's over like in about 5 seconds.
Yeah,
it was really like, it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like you beat the boss and then you just get this like really quick cutscene of like, oh, you're dying with your family around you.
Yeah,
and then it ends and it's I
have a wonder if it was a case of this game needs to be out.
Yeah. I think absolutely you've got
to release this. What happened with Bioshock Infinite?
Yeah.
You've got to release this game, get it out. And that's why nothing feels properly balanced.
Yeah. Do you get the impression with Levine, like, if he's not got executives telling him to release a game, he will just keep going forever?
What's he released since?
Yeah, that's what feels like. That's what's happening now with his current project.
Yeah,
it will just keep going forever and ever.
Maybe it's like him and Warren Spector and people like that.
Yeah,
they're just like release something. Yeah, I've got these ideas though. Technology hasn't caught up with what I want to do.
Okay. Yeah, we always talk to the students about how. There's no job where you sit around coming up with ideas.
That's because Ken Levine's got
it. Ken Levine's got it. He's got the job. One last thing on my list that I think as well that Bioshock does a good job with is just sound design. The Big Daddies kind of
the whale.
That's for me that's the best sound in the game.
Yeah,
and like the dum dum.
Yeah. Just even like just all the audio.
The weapon noises are really good. The plasmid noises are really good. The screams, the shouting, the vocal performances in it are thoroughly. It's really, really good.
Yeah, Andrew Ryan. I kind of like listening to Andrew Ryan's ranting on.
Yeah, definitely.
Less so with Frank Fontaine later on when he's like,
kid, you
kind
come to
of-
rapture.
yeah.
You think you can run
I was kind of
it
ignoring him at that point. I was like, I'm gonna
Shut up.
go
But I
and
think
kill him.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the point
you
of that
want to
point.
hate him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Like,
true.
shut up.
Yeah. There's a few bits where you had like directional sound as well, where I think there was one bit where you walk into this room and the lights turn off, and then you have like the sound of splicers like running around
Yeah.
you, and it's like going around your head.
Yeah, those kind of those spider ones when you hear them before you see them when they're on the ceiling. That's all cool. The whale song, like the actual whales, where you hear them like
Yeah.
when you're walking through some of the tunnels between sections. Just all the gurgling, bubbling, hissing, all that kind of industrial, mechanical sounding stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like the security bots whistling at you. That is annoying.
That is annoying.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's the point.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing something. Because I think from an audio and we take the visual effects out of the mix and sort of thing, the visual style, the visuals, the models for 2007, the texture in the models, the water is incredible. And that I remember because people probably tell the story. I had the same reaction. First time I played this, it took me about 5 minutes to realise I was not in a cutscene at the very beginning. Because
You're just floating.
You come up out the water and I was
Yeah.
like sat there and I was like, graphics aren't this good
Yeah.
in real time, so am I going to start moving? And I moved the joystick and I was like, oh my god, that water is incredible. And you have to take yourself back to 17 years ago, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
The water had not been done like that.
Yeah.
You're not seen it, and like you're not, because you come up out the water, don't you? And then it just, and then it just stops.
Yeah.
And so the vision. I mean, you go to the lighthouse, the way the moon is now. In 720p with a bit of blur on it, on a low res telly, that the moon don't look so bad.
Yeah.
That moon now is like it's like a George Méliès Journey to the Moon. But once you get inside, visually, the models and stuff, it's still brilliant.
Yeah.
Then they just overlay it with Vaseline and bloom.
Vaseline and bloom.
Vaseline and bloom. We got one piece of feedback. I know.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Brett Wardle tells us a couple of things I loved about this game in particular. Bioshock is a masterclass in ambience design. The colour palette, the music, the sound design, the character design, all of it just about perfect. It sets the tone for the game world right from the start and pulls you in the deeper you go. I think that's fair.
Again, don't mention the gameplay.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, all that stuff is
I
great.
agree with all of that.
The other thing, though, I also love the environmental system design within this game. The objects have properties that allow you to experiment and find those emergent gameplay moments. The surprise you get as a player when you try something weird and realise what that actually worked. It is absolutely beautiful. One of my favourite examples is when you come across enemies standing in water and you use electricity to shock them. At the time, there were very few games allowing that level of environmental immersion.
Yeah.
They also say can't wait for the episode, so it's nice that people are enjoying.
I mean, that's a good point actually. I'm not sure we did actually mention that. Although there are a lot of systems in this, and a lot of the time they work in odds together, when those moments do happen where you do something unusual, where you shoot, you lob a thingy at one of the sort of make something angry with other thingies, and it goes other splicers, and it goes up and fights them in, brings a big daddy in, and it all kicks off, and everything's going, and then everything and you just end there with very little health because you remember to press B. You're in the middle of a fight, and you've got one health bit left, and everything's dead, and you end up at the thing, and it's like.
One of my favourite.
Those moments are great when it all does work. It's such a shame that they're so rare.
One of my favourite examples is the cyclone plasmid, where you place like a tornado on the floor and it pushes them upwards. If you put aim a proximity mine on the ceiling, then the splicers run into the cyclone and it pushes them up into the proximity mine.
But I think that's the thing with this game, isn't it? And I think maybe something we haven't mentioned is that this is a game where you get out of it almost what you put in. You can just go through it with the old one too. Almost. You almost can go through this by just powering up your wrench skills and using the electricity and just smacking everything and electrocuting everything. And a lot of people did that, and that was one of its main criticisms. Like, it has all these systems and all these plasmids and all these cool things like that you said you can do. And all these weapons, and you can play around with them and set traps with
the crossbow. Which I didn't do, but like you say, you get out of what you put in. But I was playing it on easy, and I was just trying to. I wanted to make sure I finished it before the recording,
and so
wasn't able to kind of give it its due, it's the time it deserved.
Yeah,
really.
It's one of those games maybe slightly ahead of its time in that respect, because now we get a lot of games sort of people love playing like Siege and stuff like that, where they're setting up traps and all those kind of things, and those kind of games kind of work now. And imagine, I know Bioshock 2 did have a multiplayer. But I can imagine something with these kind of systems in a multiplayer system where you can set your own things up, and would be quite a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But in 2007 maybe, and even now it's not quite balanced enough to really sort of.
It needed a bit more onboarding. The 1-2 thing with the wrench, electrocute them and then hit them with a wrench. That's one combo. It needed more
combos.
More prompting, more combos to kind of, and then that might encourage you to experiment, or something that like a little. If you manage to do this, then you get this or whatever.
One of the things I'm surprised. Because the electricity in the water works really well. You've got the inflaming, but there's so little oil. Lying around.
It's around,
not very often.
Obviously, there's more water.
But I would have liked a oily plasmid, where you could
you throw
oil, and then fire an incendiary round. Boom. And that's a simple thing. I think you could. The plasmids are just a bit too easy. They're just a bit too odd. To really sort of get some use out of them.
But thank you to Brett Wardle for sending that feedback.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So the verdict: is this a game every designer should play?
Yeah,
I think so.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
For the good reasons, the bad reasons.
Yeah.
Just looking at a game that's now 17 years old and seeing how things have improved.
And I think it still gets referenced and it still gets talked about. And I think if you haven't played it, it comes at a really change over time for first-person shooters.
Yes.
In 2007. And
pivotal moment.
Yeah, that period sort of thing from kind of Halo 2 to Call of Duty, probably Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
Those 5 years are when things changed from an old school style thing, and this is slap bang in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Doing things forward and backward.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode, which means it's time to announce the game we'll be talking about in the next episode. Have we got some speculation? So we speak to each other on a day-to-day.
Do we?
Well, I speak to Adrian. I try and avoid you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Too young.
And so the clues that I've managed to glean on this is that it's not as old as Bioshock.
No, it's not.
And it's not too modern.
It's quite a short experience.
It is.
And that's about it. That's all I've managed to kind of glean from it. It costs money, is another thing.
It does cost money.
No.
It costs, less. If you've got $500 in your wallet, you'll be all right.
Well, my wallet only holds $500 maximum. So,
okay. So I was going for something completely different.
Okay, so it's nothing that it's not similar to anything.
No, it's nothing we've done before. Nothing like what we've done before. And I was going for something completely different that was fairly new. That I might do at a later date. And then I played this recently and I went, oh, we've got to do this.
All right.
And I did throw you a bit of a thing. It's not quite that old, actually. It's relatively new.
Oh, okay.
And the game we're going to be doing is Thank Goodness You're Here.
Okay. Okay.
You're going to love it.
It's on my wish list.
You are going to love it.
I am going to love it.
When I played this, I was like, Stuart is so going to love this. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It is from the very beginning, from the very moment that this game starts, I was laughing.
Yeah.
I have not laughed at a game as much as I did. So Thank Goodness You're Here. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours to play through.
Yeah.
All you can do in it is walk around and slap people. And then you go through these series of, basically it starts off with these, I'm not going to tell you, go play it, but best you don't know. Play through it in one sitting.
Right.
I got it on PS5, it's on Steam, I think it's about 15-16 quid or something on Steam. But it's very short, and you might think, but I've played it through twice and I've laughed loads. There's an advert at the beginning where this family do something, and the third thing they do just had me absolutely hysterical. It's like the way it cuts. The way it does these cuts, and it's just. So,
is it quite a British?
It's made. So it's made
rated mature.
It's made by a studio called Cold Supper, published by Panic. It's set in a bizarre town in northern England. So I think
it's
basically by two guys from Barnsley, I think it is.
Right. So I mean, well, me and David are Yorkshire lads, and you're Lincolnshire. You're not too far away.
It's loosely based on Barnsley.
Yeah.
There's video footage of like because it's the characters in it are weird. There's this ongoing gag between these two.
Don't tell us.
You'll see this because you just go through scene to scene. You don't do a lot.
Yeah.
What you do is funny, and it's also got the voice of Matt Berry in it.
Oh, you
nice.
can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Sold. I'm sold.
But it's also, like I said, from the excesses of Bioshock with all its systems, you walk around and slap.
You can do one. You can slap people. That's it. Okay.
You can't
Complete contrast.
You can't do anything. Sometimes it's 2D. Sometimes it's 3D.
Nice.
I loved it.
I just thought, am I selecting a game after this?
Yeah,
it's your turn.
Oh, God.
Next.
Your turn.
Get thinking.
Ooh.
But if you'd like to play along with us, you can email your comments and questions on Thank Goodness You're Here to shouldplaypodcast@gmail.com with the subject Thank Goodness You're Here. Or even if you just got general feedback on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. If you are passionate about game design and like the podcasts, would you kindly subscribe, like it, leave us a nice review, share it on social media, and tell your friends. We are actually on some social medias now.
We are. Yes.
We are at Should Play Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. You can join the conversation and suggest games that you'd like us to feature in future episodes.
Yes. Yeah. Stuart's been working on his editing skills. He's uploaded
I made a reel.
A reel?
I made a reel.
Have you made a YouTube short?
I trimmed the reel into a YouTube short.
Have you been clipping?
What? Clipping? Have I been clipping?
I said
David mentioned it earlier. Clipping. I just kind of ignored it. But yeah, what is that?
Okay.
It's making a clip.
Well, you get a clip of something.
Oh, right. Okay. On what? How? Are you just recording everything you do all the time?
No, it's a clip.
I used NVIDIA Shadowplay, so it holds 2 minutes of footage.
Okay.
And then when you press a button, it saves it.
Okay.
That's it.
Fair enough.
Adrian was fascinated with this word when I mentioned it earlier.
Like, clipping? I'll have to try and do some
like passing through objects.
Clipping. Like the way the screen clipped through the floor in the bathysphere at the beginning of Bioshock. Well, all that's left for us to say is thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.